Enjoy yesterday?
Yes, I did. Here we go. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special edition of Behind the Bench. I am your host, Rocco Granato from InLacrosseWeTrust.com, and with me on the line is my very special guest, NLL Commissioner Nick Sakiewicz. Mr. Sakiewicz, thank you so much for taking the time out of this, what I could say, busy and hectic 48 hours.
Busy and hectic 12 months. No, it's great to be here, Rocco. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time out. I know it's been really crazy as of late. And as everybody knows, the big news over the past couple weeks, first we had SanDiego come in to the National Lacrosse League starting with the 2018-19 season. And then yesterday, the very big announcement which made a lot of people in the city of Philadelphia very, very happy, and what was one of your, I guess you could say, building blocks, what you wanted to do when you first came in as commissioner. A team is now back in Philadelphia for the 2018-19 season.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. Philadelphia has been such a original city for the National Lacrosse League from the very beginning, and it was kind of sad that it left. And it was, when I took over as commissioner, it was really one of our priorities to not only get a team back there, but to get a team back to Philly with the right owner, because it's all about having the right owner.
Now, tell us what went on to build this, to get this team back in. We've seen Mike French, former owner and now owner of the New England Black Wolves, there in attendance, and I spoke with him a little bit, and he said that he helped bring this team back. Now, there's a lot of animosity with some of the fans and Mr. French with the way, because the team left the first time. What was Mike French's part in this, bringing the team back to Philadelphia?
Well, Mike, been involved with the league from day one. He's one of the founders, played in the league, one of the founding owners for many, many years, has invested heavily his own personal wealth to help grow and build NLL. Mike's one of our most respected and tenured board members, and advises from the board level, advises the league on a number of strategies, including expansion. And when it came to Philadelphia, he was very helpful and instrumental to me in getting it done and getting it done in the right way. His role, is obviously as a board member representing the New England Black Wolves, but knew how important it was to bring this team back to Philadelphia.
Now let's talk about the expansion. I had some of my friends and some of the former, I'll say, Wings fans at the time throw me a few questions. I picked out some of the ones that I think are pertinent to all this. With Comcast now owning a Philly team, how likely are we to see some sort of a TV deal, like a game of the week or like a highlight show on one of their stations or one of the ones that they own?
Well, certainly all the games that they'll play will definitely be on NLL TV, the league's national platform. As far as their games locally on regional, I think that's a question ultimately for them, for either Sean Tilger or Lindsay or Sean Delaney that were there. That's their call. The league encourages all of its teams to do local regional television, and some of our teams do. Some of our teams don't, but certainly the power of that company, Comcast Spectacor, and they own Comcast Sportsnet, and obviously their parent is Comcast. It's a good question, but that's really their call. But you will be able to watch every Philadelphia game and every game in the NLL on NLL TV.
And I just want to put out there that to vote for the name of the new Philly team, you want to go to PhillyLax2018.com. Click on the name the team icon up there on the webpage. Submit your answers, and what will happen is that they will pick the top so many, I'll just say maybe the top 5 or 10 selections after a certain period of time, and then the fans will get to vote on it. And it's just not for the people here in Philadelphia, it's for anybody out there listening. Go to PhillyLax2018.com, select name the team, see if your selection wins. You have a chance to win season tickets for the first season when they come back. Now, one question I was kind of curious about, and some of the other people were, with the expansion dollars, Joseph Tsai bought into SanDiego, and now we have Philadelphia. How do those expansion dollars work?
Not exactly sure what you're asking. These are all private transactions, so we really don't, not in a position to talk about details of the dollars or the terms and conditions of the expansion. So I'm not going to talk about that. But obviously, team number 10 pays less than team number 11, and team number 11 pays less than 12. And that's just how it works. There's only a certain number of these teams that'll be sold. Will only be, 36 team league maybe someday. So there's only so many of them. But I'm not at liberty to talk about the specific details of the transaction.
Okay, that's fine. Now, a couple days ago in U.S. Lacrosse Magazine, it was mentioned about a possibility of a third team being brought in between now and the start of the season. What is the possibility of that, and would it be more towards the teams out in the West as opposed to teams in the East?
Yeah, I never liked the handicap when teams actually come in. I will tell you, we have 4 applications in, and that has put a close to round 1 expansion. We're moving forward carefully and diligently with the 2 remaining applications that we have not announced yet. So it's hard to tell. We're going through that right now. We feel pretty good. The applications are in. Deposits for those teams are in. But we're not at a point where I can handicap when we'll be making those announcements. Hopefully it's soon. It'd be great to have 12 teams starting play in 2018-2019 season. And we'll keep you posted as progress is made on those 2 other applications in round 1. But round 1 is closed. There's no more teams at round 1 pricing, and we're going to be engaging in a few weeks discussions centered around teams coming in round 2.
Round 2, okay. So there could be another team coming in to kind of even things out. Now, we have an 18-game season now. I know you've talked about increasing the number of games as the teams increase. When would you think that would happen? Like, when we would hit, say, 15 teams, do we see an increase in games, or?
Not exactly sure, what the right time for that is. I think, we're very strategic in the number of games that we're going to play. It's pretty obvious that the more teams you have, the more games you have to play. But not exactly sure what season we decide to do that. As you know, we pushed up the start of our season this year a couple of weeks in preparation for next season, when Philadelphia and SanDiego and potentially a 12th team comes in and plays in that year. But we're not, we don't put any timelines on the number of games increasing or the competition window changing. We're not an established league like the NFL or the NHL or NBA. they have had the same number of teams for long periods of time, so it's much easier for them to create a schedule that's been consistent year in and year out. We just don't know how many teams we're going to have. So we don't know how many teams we're going to have. We're a growing league. We have to make a scheduling decision that is smart and strategic and not just off the cuff. So it's hard to predict. We won't be playing any less than 18 games, but when that number goes up, it's hard for me to predict right now.
Okay. Now, back so many years ago, we had teams out in California with Anaheim and San Jose. Now we're going back there again. We're testing the waters, so to speak, with SanDiego. What's going to be different to make that team work as opposed to Anaheim and San Jose back then?
Well, back then, the owners for those teams were not Joe Tsai. Joe Tsai is a very accomplished businessman who has huge financial resources to be able to build the right infrastructure, to be able to build the right organization that can deliver a high-quality product to the fans in SanDiego. And the second thing is an arena deal. In both San Jose's case and Anaheim's case, the arena deal was a one-sided deal, and all the benefits inured to the owner of the arena. They didn't share in any revenues with the owner of the lacrosse teams in both of those cases, and we're not doing deals like that anymore. We've had a number of arenas that have offered up deals like that, and we've said no. We have had a number of investors that weren't as deep as Joe Tsai come to us wanting to own teams and markets. We've said no to them, and we're not going to make those same mistakes again.
Okay. Now, back in we're going back like the early 2000s, there was a lot of expansion going on, and it seemed like the league was really got kind of watered down. A lot of fans are afraid of possibly that happening. With what's going on now, we're bringing in 2, possibly 3 teams for 18 and 19. What can we expect to where this won't happen again, where it won't look like a watered down league?
I'm not sure what you mean by watered down.
Well, back when the way the teams, I guess you could say, some of them left, some of them became inactive. I guess back then there wasn't really a whole lot of talent to keep those teams going. And some of the people didn't really go out to watch these games.
And this was in what years?
Back in 2000. We had an influx of expansion going on.
17 years ago, I think there's a lot of lacrosse players that have been developed over the last 17 years, a whole generation or maybe a second generation of lacrosse players. And as far as attendance, though, I mean, we have the best lacrosse players in the world playing. Our league average this year grew by 12% in paid attendance and averaged over 10,000 a game. We have some teams that are drawing 16,000, 17,000 a game in Buffalo and Calgary and Saskatchewan and Denver. So attendance is a factor of game operations. And again, it goes back to the owner. If the owner invests properly in a front office staff that can generate ticket sales and revenue for the team and create an entertainment product the fans are willing to come out and watch, then we know our product sells. So again, I don't know what occurred back in 2000, but we see what our teams do now, and they're incredibly successful when they operate their teams the right way. And it all starts with the owner. You got to have a proper owner to make sure that they invest in the right business strategies to generate a good performance on the business side, which is every bit as important as a good performance on the floor, on the technical side.
Now, what about neutral site exhibition games? a couple years ago, just when you were being introduced as the commissioner, we had the Black Wolves and the Buffalo Bandits face off in the Allentown Arena. Now with SanDiego coming into the fold and Philly now back in the picture, can those two cities possibly see some neutral site exhibition games to let the fans see what they're in for?
Possibly, although I'm not a big fan of those events. They don't mean anything. They're exhibitions. There's no points on the line. I played in a lot of those as a soccer player over the years, and as a player, if there's not points on the table, or if there's not, something worth playing for, you kind of approach those games in a different mentality, more as a training exercise rather than a competition. So I've never been a big fan of those exhibition games. It's all about the competition, and that's what the fans want us to be ultimately, and that's what the players want to compete in. So, we'll look at all the possibilities and see if there's opportunities to do things in those markets, and really work with the teams. In SanDiego's case, Steve Govett and Josh Gross are building their operation there, and we'll work with them to support whatever things that they may want to do over the course of the next 18 months as they ramp up. And then the same with Lindsay and Sean Delaney in Philadelphia. We'll obviously work with them if they want to do stuff, but I wouldn't bank on exhibition games. I would get the season tickets now and wait for opening day.
Right. Yeah. And
that's when the real competition happens. That's when the real players show up, right?
Yeah, and believe it or not, there's been a lot of action on social media. A lot of the Philadelphia faithful, I'll say, have already started posting up that they put their deposit down, which is only a $50 deposit per seat. And actually, if you have your old account number from when it was Philadelphia Wings, they will notate on your account that they will hold your old seat for you, and then
that's awesome.
Then they'll go ahead and go from there.
I bought mine already, and I heard as of this morning, I think they were pushing 1,000 season tickets already. So that's awesome news.
That's great. Yeah, because I got my two already down, and it's like I said, it's if they have your account number, they'll hold your old seat, and you could keep that seat if you want, or you can move somewhere else. They don't know what the prices are going to be per seat, depending on where you're sitting at, but if you can't afford that seat, it'll be something comparable to where you were, but at least you'll have that, and things can go from there. And again, I'll say PhillyLax2018.com site you want to go to name the team, look at all the information on Philadelphia Lacrosse coming back to the Wells Fargo Center once again. There's the history of the league on there. There's a bunch of some other information by getting your stuff in there early as a season ticket holder. You're going to be eligible for a whole lot of incentives, I'll say. And if it's anything like it was when it was Philadelphia Wings, the incentives are not that bad. So you would really want to get in for that. Just a couple more questions for you, sir. There was an All-Star game before. How are you on that? Would we be seeing a possibility of another All-Star game anytime soon?
Yeah, so the league is working on some league events. Obviously, All-Star is a traditional league event in many leagues. All-Star games in general have kind of lost their luster in the other leagues, and we're just trying to work on a format. We're also trying to partner with U.S. Lacrosse. They've been an awesome partner of ours since I took over as commissioner, and we're working with them on the concept of some unique events for lacrosse fans. And I think we'll be coming out shortly with a very cool All-Star concept. I don't think it'll be similar along the lines of maybe what Major League Baseball does or what some of the other leagues do. We want to do it better and bigger and differently. So we're working on that. We're just not ready to throw it out there yet. But I expect we'll have something really soon for the fans to get excited about.
Now, for this upcoming season, Are there any rule changes, playoff format going to be any different, or are we sticking with the same thing that we have in the past couple years?
Not ready to talk about playoff format yet, but stay tuned. As you know, we pushed up our schedule a couple of weeks into December to begin getting ready for expansion and new teams coming in. We're also looking hard at the back end of our schedule. We know there's a number of players in our league that like to play in the outdoor league, and we're trying to accommodate those players so that they have a better experience playing in our league and fulfill their desires to play field lacrosse. But at the same time, we have to manage our business and keep the momentum going. There's a lot of positive momentum in the National Lacrosse League right now, and we just got to keep the excitement going. So, and our competition schedule is a big part of that.
Now, with the expansion draft, that will obviously be next summer. What are the rules going to be? I remember from years past in the expansion that so many players are protected, goaltender, and then everybody else, teams can pick from those players. And they had it where if a team loses a player, they were able to pull a player back, and I believe if you were a rookie and you were drafted, you were automatically protected. What are the rules for this year's expansion draft going to be?
We haven't announced them yet. The expansion draft, there will be no expansion draft this year. There'll be an expansion draft next year, around this time. Mm-hmm. And those rules will be forthcoming. We're just polishing up the final touches on those rules. There'll be a limited number of protected players, with a maximum number of total players that you could protect, both in offense and in goalies. The expansion teams participating in the expansion draft can expect to have a large player pool to pick from. We believe it's extremely important that expansion teams be highly competitive out of the gate. In both cases, in SanDiego and in Philly, they've hired amazing people. I mean, Steve Govett is a very successful general manager in our league, has played in our league, and is renowned for putting competitive teams on the field. Sean Delaney, the same. He's a very smart general manager, and they're going to have a large player pool to pick from, plus free agents to sign, plus the entry draft, which they'll all participate in. So we feel that we're in pretty good shape, that these teams are going to be very, very competitive right out of the gate.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be, I shouldn't say it looks like, it's going to be not only an exciting season this year, but coming up in 2018, 2019, with the players that are coming out into the draft. It's really deep this year with the talent, and of course it's going to get even better next year and the years coming. And as you said, with the free agency that's going to be out there, there's going to be a lot of players that are going to be picked. Who knows, we may see some former Philadelphia players come back to the city who wants to go out west to SanDiego and wherever the third team may be, going there. And these franchises aren't just going to be your run-of-the-mill expansion teams. These are going to have established players on there, so it's going to really make things very competitive in the league upcoming.
Yeah, we think so. Yeah, we think so. Plus, there's more Americans playing box lacrosse than ever before over the last decade or so. And you just look at a player like Tom Schreiber, who was our rookie of the year this year, and he was in the running for MVP. So there's a lot of American talent coming through. There's more and more every year. I think we have a record crop of Americans coming to our combine this weekend, and will be in the draft, available to be picked. So, it's just not about Canadian players anymore. There's a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of Americans. We expect to see more Americans playing in our league this season, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see the game grow south of the border.
And once again, before I end this interview, I want to put out again, go to PhillyLax2018.com. enter your suggestion for the team name, follow up on all the things for Philly Lax that is coming back for the 2018-19 season. There is a newsletter that will be put out, so if you want to be part of that and receive that newsletter via email, obviously, fill out that selection, fill out with your email address. You'll get, once they get that up and running, you will receive information on that. Mr. Sakiewicz, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out. It was an honor to meet you yesterday, as it was a couple years ago, prior to that game that we mentioned, the Buffalo-New England game in Allentown. Your first 2 years have been fantastic. I mean, you came in, you had Edmonton win it the first year, and then they moved to Saskatchewan, they win it again, and you almost had the three-peat coming in.
I've only been here 18 months, so don't age me that much. So it'll be 2 years in January. I think we've made a lot of progress, but we still have a lot more work to do.
Yeah, a lot more work, but it's the fans just keep on coming out. They love the game. There's a lot of support out there. We want to thank you for everything that you have done and continue to do. Wish you all the best, and I thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule today, and thank you so much.
You bet, Rocco. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, you have a good day. Okay, that was NL Commissioner Nick Sakiewicz. Again, thank you for, he took time out of his schedule, running around crazy, I guess, today in the city of Philadelphia, getting the word out with some of the people from the NLL, with the Philadelphia team coming in, SanDiego also coming in, and as you heard, possibility of a third team being announced. No time schedule as to when, but a third team will be announced. My guess it would be somewhere out west, somewhere in that area, like from Dallas on over. So this way we could have a even number in the league, even number of teams in each division in the league. So I hope everybody enjoyed this. Stay tuned for our weekly podcast of Behind the Bench with Gary Grube. We will be doing that probably in the next day or two, where we will recap the Man Cup, which right now Peterborough is up on the New Westminster Salmon Bellies 3-2. Again, this is Rocco Granado for InLacrosseWeTrust.com and Behind the Bench. I hope you enjoyed this interview with NL Commissioner Nick Sakiewicz.